What's up guys, welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/EntitledPeople. Alright, this story's called Entitled Lady on the Train Won't Let Me Hold On to the Pole and Hisses at People Who Try to. Gets arrested by police for violating the law. So I literally just got off the train and I'm walking home. This happened when I was coming back from training and it was rush hour, and I am on mobile. Here is the story. I, like the other 50 plus people, am waiting to board the train so we can get home. The train doors open and I get on with the crowd. As I only had one stop, I already decided to stand. I get on, I try to stand near the door but out of the way so people could get on and off. There's this pole which is there when you enter the train. It's the frickin' rush hour and this lady is leaning against the whole frickin' pole. She literally looks like some rich person, long necklace and frickin' gloves. So I get on and she starts to frickin' hiss at all the people passing by her. I get on with the stragglers at the back and am standing near the door. She frickin' takes off her mask and hisses at me. I instantly backed up when she pulled off her mask. Once she put it back on, I stepped back next to the pole because there were already people around me. She hisses at me again when I try to grab the pole because I don't want to fall over. Finally, she says something. "Hi, hands off the pole." I'm talking to you. Are you intellectually disabled? Oh my god, you are intellectually disabled. This is a public pole, and I will hold on to it because I don't want to fall. She took off her mask again and frickin' bites my hand. I pulled my hand from under her teeth because she was putting pressure on it and it started to hurt. What the hell, lady? You deserved it for touching my pole. Whatever. By this time, I arrived at my stop and I got off, and this lady got a frickin' smug-ass smile on. A group of police officers gets on at that station, and entitled lady loses the smile behind her mask. She gets dragged/ushered off the train, and it left. "Ma'am, I just saw you take off your mask twice, once to shout at another person and once to bite that same person." "I did not. OP touched my pole and was too close to me." "Ma'am, OP literally just wanted to take the train. They were not bothering you at all. May I see your hand?" I show him the red marks on my hand. "Okay, that's enough to arrest her for putting the public at risk." "Okay, ma'am, I'm going to need your IC, and would you please follow us, please?" "What am I being arrested for?" "You took off your mask in a crowded train, shouted in said train, and bit someone. You tried to spread COVID-19, knowingly or unknowingly, you just put the people on that train at risk for it. So please, follow us now." The entitled lady got ushered off the platform, and I went home. God, that lady's crazy. Who thinks that's okay, to just bite people? Also, get that cleaned up because, like, 99.9% of the time people get bit by another person, it's gonna cause infection. Unless it, like, doesn't break skin, but, you know, be careful. Alright, this story's called Suncell Restaurant Inherited from Abusive Father. How dare he give up treasured neighborhood gem? There was a family restaurant my folks loved going to when I was growing up. Really neighborhood type place which everyone in the area went to all the time. The place had been managed by an old butthole of a man who also happened to be the chef. His food was admittedly delicious as frick. Of course, the whole neighborhood knew about his tendency to verbally destroy his son, who silently put up with his dad telling him what a useless piece of crap he was in public. Note, his son was a constant presence in the kitchen and was as much responsible for the great quality of food as his father. Anyway, inevitably, the old chef dies. Instead of picking up where his dad left off, instead of putting his own great culinary skills to use, the very first thing the son did was sell the restaurant property to a franchise-type popular chain fast food brand type business. From what I heard, he made quite a fortune too. For the first time, everyone got to see him smile in public, walking with his head held high. Obviously, the loud reaction from the whole neighborhood, including my own family, was, "What an ungrateful jackass, depriving everyone else of beloved recipes and shared experiences." As an adult, I realize how absolutely frickin' selfish and entitled that perspective was. The poor guy was very obviously doing something cathartic for himself to restore something his father had taken away in his life. But as far as every entitled a-hole on the block was concerned, he owned them. Frankly, this was one of the less horrible stuff my local community pulled. I ended up getting the heck out when I was 17, and I can't say I regret it. Wherever he is, I hope that guy who spent his life being abused by his dead father found peace. Yikes. Well, hey, I agree. It sucks that people held a smart business decision and, like OP said, a very cathartic experience against the kid. Like, that's not cool. Yeah, it sucks that they lost a beloved restaurant, but come on, there's gonna be food everywhere. Like, obviously that's not really a consolation, but what are you gonna do? Alright, this story's called I'm the Doctor, Resident, I Know Better Than You. After reading another post, I was reminded of this. This story took place about 20 years ago, but I still remember it quite well. Background. I was in the military and injured my knees badly and needed surgery. I had agreed to be part of a research study for a new procedure to reduce healing time and so forth. At this time, it was my third surgery, so I knew what worked and did not work for me before and after surgery, especially medication-wise. Here's the cast. There's me, magical entity, Dip Dookie Resident, head doctor. The day of surgery 4 has arrived, and I am getting prepped by the nurses. In comes the Dip Dookie Resident. The arrogance is written on his face. You know, the I'm God complex arrogance and you can't tell me anything? Yeah, what a great start to the day. You need to take these sedition pills. No, I can't because I have opposite effects on them. You will take these or you can't have the surgery. You know, that's beaver sausage and coercion. Anywho, did you even think to read my chart? Because you would know why I can't take them. I'm a doctor and I know better, so you will take these. Being the petty little 20-year-old ass, I took the meds because I knew what would happen. So by the time I made it to the operating room, I was wound up like somebody who just took speed. I was hyperverbal and tried jumping off the gurney. Head doctor comes in and asked what the hell was going on. I gave the head doctor a poo-eating grin. He knew me from all my other surgeries as he was the one who did them. OP, what's going on? I randomly really fast tried to explain that Dip Dookie's surgeon would not listen to me and told me I had to take the meds or I could not have surgery, even though I told him that I should not take the meds. Head doctor, looking pissed, turned to Dip Dookie. Did you say this? Well, I am a doctor and I know best. No, you are not. You are a resident and apparently failed to even read your patient's chart, which is not acceptable. But first rule, listen to what your patient says. If they say they can't take something, even if most can, you listen. At this point, resident is shrinking in size and his ego is deflating fast. If you would have actually read the chart, we would have this, points at me with the crap-eating grin, issue at our hands now. This patient can never receive sedatives because she has this reaction. So the surgery is over and you will read her chart and will apologize to her. OP, you knew better, and that grin tells me you were being spiteful. Please don't do that again. Okay. So after the surgery and once I was completely awake, Dip Dookie came in to apologize, and it took all Dip Dookie had to admit he was wrong. It felt so good. Yes, I know I shouldn't have done it, but I was 20 and not the most reasonable at the time. No, you were listening to your doctor. A really stupid doctor, but a doctor nonetheless. Alright, this story's called Accused of Stealing a Company Car. When this happened, I was 30-year-old male working as a company driver. We had 2 drivers and 3 company cars, just in case one was in repair, etc. My direct boss was the garage supervisor in charge of the cars and schedules. Story starts with my girlfriend needing to go to her 10-year high school reunion lasting for 2 days that weekend. She didn't own a car at that point, and my car was in repairs after a trunk had crashed into it in a parking lot the previous week. So I asked my supervisor if I could borrow a car for the weekend. He said no, that I had no right to use company cars for personal use, etc. Anyway, while I was driving around, one of the senior bosses that he saw my gloomy look and asked about it. After telling the story, he laughed and said it was no problem for a good employee like me. In 3 years, I never missed my shift, didn't get sick, nor had any accidents with cars. After we were back at the office, he told me to take the car, which was the newest one we had, and to enjoy myself, which I did. When I got back to work on Monday, supervisors started yelling at me for stealing the car, disobeying his orders, and so on. When I told him I had permission, he didn't believe me and started accusing me of lying. Luckily, the same boss called and asked for me as a driver for the day. While in the car, I told him of that morning. Needless to say, he was not pleased. Later, we found out that the supervisor was sacked from his post for using company cars without asking, used the fuel cards we had for personal cars, even filling up friends' cars, and filing his personal car bills under company bills. And the reason he was pissed at me? Because he wanted to use the same car to impress his new girlfriend. Had he kept his mouth shut that morning, he would have gotten away with it all. And what a dummy! It's funny how entitled people will get mad at someone for doing a very similar thing as they do. And they'll get mad at them. And well, like we saw here, they get caught for it. So, if you're gonna do something shady, just shut up. Basically, that's the moral of the story. Alright, this story's called The One Time a Couple Left Their Backpacking Guide to Die in the Desert. This happened to another guide that works at the same company I do. So, the company we work for leads hiking and backpacking trips all over the US and internationally. This happened on a 4-day backpacking trip in southern Utah. The guide was working solo and the couple were the only guests on the trip. This happened on the very last day of the trip. The guide, I'll call him Dave, woke up on the last morning of the trip in excruciating pain. Major stomach issues. He has no idea what it was. Food poisoning? Perhaps he drank some unclean water? Who knows? We are very diligent on these trips in general. We treat all water and prepare foods according to strict backcountry food handling procedures. Still, crap literally happens. Dave is in such a bad spot that he talks to his guests from his tent. He explains that he's too weak to cook breakfast and guide them back to the vehicle. He tells them that he has called the company on the emergency satellite phone and they are sending a new guide ASAP. He asks them to please be patient. He explains where the food is and how to operate the stove. He asks them to make some breakfast and to sit tight. Frustrating for sure, but sometimes these things happen, am I right? Well, this couple was not feeling it. They knew that the van keys were in the guide's pack and they had an idea of where the van was. So they grab the keys, leave their tent and gear provided by the company, and they ditch the guide, who is lying in his tent completely helpless and in excruciating pain. They just nope right out of there and leave him to fend for himself. No goodbye, no making sure he has water at least, nothing. They peace out and basically steal the van, leaving Dave behind. They make it to the van and are driving back to their hotel when the other guy that was sent to help sees them on the road and flags them down. He, of course, can't believe they just took the van and left Dave behind, but he tells them to wait there while he rescues Dave, and then they will all figure it out together. Nope, they take off and just drive themselves to a hotel. They refuse to answer their phones or communicate with the company at all. The only way we were able to recover the van was by tracking the GPS signal to the hotel parking lot. Hard to believe, but some people are so entitled they'll just leave their guy dying in his tent while they joyride in the company van. One of the owners wanted to press charges as they basically stole the van without permission and just left it in the hotel parking lot with the keys inside. In the end, they just let it go as it wasn't worth the hassle. If you ever go on a guided trip like that, always tip your guide, and for love's sake, never abandon your guide to die in his or her tent. Not cool, especially in a desert. It's really hot over there. But no, that's horrible. Like, especially in the desert, man. Ugh. Alright, this story's called Oh, and My Friends Will Be Coming to Stay. Just a quick one. A little over a decade ago now, my wife and I bought our farm in the bush. Not too large, mind you, but very pretty, nestled up in the mountains by the rainforest in tropical North Queensland. We had worked long and hard for this piece of paradise. On the last day of the sale, the day before the handover, we were doing the final inspection. All was good, and we were chatting with the soon-to-be previous owners, Karen and her ex-husband. I'm guessing the divorce was the reason they were selling.
Oh, and by the way, our friends will be coming up in 4 weeks to go camping.
Okay. I hope they have a good time. Thinking she was referring to one of the many camping sites in our area.
Yeah, so if you could make sure the gate is open and the paddock grass kept short, that would be great.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they come up every year and really enjoy it here.
Okay, Karen, they may have come here while you owned this place, but that will have to stop now. I'll have cattle in that paddock by then. You'll need to call them and tell them to find somewhere else.
But I told them they could stay.
Yeah, but I didn't, so it's not happening. Karen got huffy and tried to get her ex-husband to reason with me. He told her to pull her head in. Talking to him later, this was all news to him also, and he couldn't stand the people coming. Told me to send them packing if they did show up. Fortunately, this was the last of it, and I did not have to deal with her visitors. Ew, that's gross. How are you gonna sell someone property and tell them how to use it? Unless, like, that's part of the agreement. No, not okay. Plus, this is in Australia, so they're already gonna be having to deal with, like, 80-foot tall spiders and just, general hell and chaos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.